purpose today for this meeting of the Cabinet. We have a number of important issues to consider at today's Cabinet meeting, but before we begin the formal meeting, I have some housekeeping information that I need to share. First, please be aware that this meeting is being live streamed and that a recording of the meeting will be available to view on the Council's website. Second, the Council allows filming and photography at its public meetings, so please feel free to take pictures and post to social media during the meeting. Third, can I ask everyone to turn their phones to silent or vibrate whilst the meeting is taking place. And finally, in terms of housekeeping, there is no fire alarm scheduled for today, so if the alarm sounds, please leave by the nearest marked fire exit and proceed directly to the fire assembly point. We're going to now move into the formal agenda items. Number one, Dan, in your capacity as Democratic Services Manager, do we have any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Leader. None received.
Thank you. Item 2, declarations of interest. Does any member wish to declare any disclosable pecuniary interest or non-statutory disclosable interest? Councillor Thorburn.
Fair interest in item 11, and the Director of Peterborough Limited. I should be reclusing myself from the decision making.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay. Item 3, minutes of the 14th of January. Item 3 is approval of the minutes of the Cabinet meeting on the 14th of January 2025. We're being asked to approve the minutes of the Cabinet meeting held on this day as an accurate record. If any member does not agree, would you be kind enough to raise your hand now, please? Okay, thank you. Item 5, Budget Control Report, pages 7 to 26 in the agenda. Item 5 is the Q3 Budget Control Report. Councillor Jamil, in your capacity as Cabinet Member for Finance and Corporate Governance, will you please introduce the item?
Thank you, Leader. The report before you sets out the Council's financial forecast for the current year, including progress against the savings programme and the capital programme. At the end of Q3, the forecast stands at an overspend of £5.4 million, which is equivalent to 2.4% of our total net revenue budget. There are a number of key areas driving this pressure, mainly rising demand for children's social care placements, home to school transport and housing. Interest rates remain high, impacting on the Council's cost of borrowing. The pressure across culture and leisure services, lower than anticipated income and higher maintenance costs in relation to the solar PV estate, and increase in the cost of materials recycling facility contract. The current financial year has been a difficult one so far, with spending controls in place for most of the year. These controls have been effective, and the forecast overspend has been reduced by £2.2 million from 7.6 million at the end of Q2. Although the position remains stark, this is a marked improvement and down to swift actions put in place by the corporate leadership team and the response to these actions from staff across our organisation. This includes holding vacancies, deferring revenue spending, and reviewing the delivery and phasing of our capital programme. We are hopeful that controls and discipline that we have in place will see a further improvement in Q4. This will be essential in ensuring that Council maintains more sufficient reserve levels than are currently forecast. Therefore, I present this report to Cabinet.
Thank you, Councillor Jamil. We now move to questions and debate. Do we have any questions from members, please? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Leader. A quick question really on, obviously we're in Q3 now, we've obviously got the 5 million overspend. What do we think the figure's likely to be by the end of Q4? Have we got any ideas what the figures might be, and also then what impact would that have on our reserves? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. It's difficult to set a figure at the moment. We are kind of hopeful that by the end of the month we should have figures as to what the January figure is. But at present, with the position that we've got, that we've taken in the last few months, we're hopeful that the figure will come down. And I'll hand you over to Cecilia, who will explain further.
Thank you. So we, as Councillor Jamil has just said, we will do the last forecast is the January forecast, and the finance team are working on that now. So in the next few days, we should have an updated position. All the spending controls we heard about earlier remain in place. We have a capital moratorium, we have a essential spend only on the revenue budget, a recruitment freeze and an agency freeze. So we're only doing essential work and incurring essential expenditure at the moment. The position tends to improve towards the end of the financial year, so we are hopeful that it will get a bit better. But we can't say, I can't quote the figures until we get into April with the actual final position. In terms of the reserves, if we end up with a £5.4 million overspend, it will virtually wipe out our general fund reserves, and it will have a significant impact on our financial sustainability. So it's very, very important that we get that overspend position down.
Thank you, Cecilia. Any other questions? These are figures that we've been through on many, many occasions. Councillor Kayham.
Thank you, Leader. I think we had quite a constructive joint budget scrutiny, conversing and obviously speaking with other members cross-party as well. I'm particularly interested and want to focus on SEND placements and the school placements. Could we give a forecast on how we may fare over the next financial year on pressures with SEND services? I know that this is synonymous with authorities all across the country and not just unique to us, but it would be interesting to see the direction of travel and how we intend on mitigating some of those pressures. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kayham. Councillor Cole, would you like to pick this up?
Thank you, Leader, and through you, thank you, Councillor Kayham. In terms of SEND placements, I've been visiting a range of schools recently looking at their alternative provision, or it can also be referred to as AP provision. The government's white paper that was released a few weeks ago talked about schools supporting SEND pupils within their own communities. I'm fully behind this. I think it's really important that children are educated within their locality to keep familial bonds together, friendships, and something that I'm really proud of is that the school has recently put funding in to Neengate, where an additional 40, I think it's 40, I will check with the Director for Children's Services, but I think it's an additional 40 SEND places within the community are going to be provided, and I'm really proud of that.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Is that okay, Councillor Kemp?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to make the additional comment that I think that it's quite complimentary that we've had constructive conversations with members across all parties over the last couple of months through the FSWG. And I think that that's been particularly effective, ensuring that, you know, we deliver on budget, and I'd like to commend the officers as well with their hard work in this area.
Thank you. I'm going to bring John in at this stage. I think he just wants to add something to your question.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. To clarify, I don't have the details of the number of places in Neengate to hand, but Cabinet has received a previous report on that plan for expansion, particularly in relation to SEND placements. Just wanted to add that we're working with a number of schools across the city to expand the number of available school placements, both SEND and in mainstream provision. And the reason that's pertinent to this question is in relation to the pressures and costs associated with school transport. We're doing some good work to reduce that, but I think the expansion of local schools will see that reduced further in the midterm period. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Is that okay? Yeah. Any further questions before we move to debate? I see no hands raised. Anybody would like to debate, or are we content with what we've heard? In which case, colleagues, we're being recommended to Review the financial forecast for 24-25 as at quarter 3. Are we content? We are? Thank you. Item 6, pages 27 to 40, the corporate performance report, January. Item 6, the corporate performance report, and as the leader, it comes under me. As soon as I find my passage, I will introduce this particular report. Okay. Colleagues, presented for your information is the Quarter 3 corporate performance update, which covers the monitoring period October to December 2024. This update provides a high-level overview of Peterborough City Council's performance against the 4 priorities set out in the current corporate strategy in terms of key achievements, developments and challenges during the quarter. Under the Quarter 4 priority areas, a total of 84 key performance indicators are monitored, with 50%, 42, of the KPI showing an improvement compared to 44% in Quarter 2, a 6% increase. Assuming that you've read the update, some key achievements and challenges during Quarter 3 include permanent exclusion rates are below the national and regional averages. We're the first authority in the East of England to launch its own house project designed to help young people, care leavers in the city achieve successful independent futures. Decrease in the number of reported antisocial behaviour incidents, evidence successful collaboration with the Safer Peterborough Partnership problem-solving group, and a 40% decrease of people verified as sleeping on the streets, contrary to national trends. Having said that, some of the challenges police have indicated record an increase in domestic abuse over the past 6 months. Prompt responses from support services is essential, as timely contact may encourage more victims to engage. The supply of social housing remains challenging. However, more affordable homes are being developed and efforts are underway to increase engagement and incentives in the private rental sector. Council tax collection remains a challenge given the financial pressures many individuals and families are encountering. Work is being undertaken to develop self-service options so taxpayers are better able to access and monitor when payments are due. It's essential that, I turn to the next page, council tax is collected to ensure vital services can continue to be delivered for residents. Right, okay, in which case I'd like to invite members to ask questions and engage in debate. Have we any questions on the corporate performance report? Councillor Jones.
Thank you for that, Leader. Mine's regarding the house project, which obviously is a fantastic project that we've managed to get off the ground, and thank everybody very much for being involved to hit sort of a timescales. But just to sort of bring it to life a bit more, actually what are the services that we can expect for the care leavers when they use that facility?
Councillor Cole, would you like to pick that up for me, please?
Thank you, Leader, and through you, thank you for the question. The House Project is going to be able to provide care leavers a range of services, the sort of services that I would expect any good parent to be able to support their own child with. So CV writing, how to take on a tenancy, how to wash your clothes so that they don't all end up pink, those sorts of services, as well as a broader range of services. They can be group, they can be small, individualised. The good thing about the House Project is that it's going to be able to adapt to the needs of children and young people as different cohorts go through. But I'm going to bring in the Director for Children's Services in case you want to add anything else.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, Leader. I mean, the House Project is a fantastic achievement for the city, and it's something that I'm immensely proud of. against an initial target of 10 that was stretched to 12. We've now got 13 young people who are beginning their journey with the house project. The new facility provides a fantastic meeting venue for our young people to start with, but whilst they're going through the house project, they'll be embark on an AQA accredited training program called ORCIDS, which will prepare them for taking on a tenancy when they become young adults. I think some research nationally suggested that the average age of leaving home was approximately 27, but the care system requires children to leave the care of their primary caregivers at 18. So it's only right and proper that we wrap a level of support around them that ensures that their early adult life is as successful as possible. And I think going forward we'll see some really positive outcomes of our young people who are benefiting from the house project. Thank you.
Are you happy with the reply? Before we move on, John, can I just ask you, you mentioned AQA, which is this an accredited qualification? Is this training that a young person can do towards independent living?
Yes, it is absolutely accredited, yes.
Thank you. Councillor Jamil.
Thank you, Chair. My question is around children. I represent a ward which has a very diverse community. Now, one of the challenges that I've noticed that we've got is the SEND uptake. I know SEND budget is really high. So what are we doing to make sure, because in some communities being labelled with having educational needs is a stigma. So what are we doing to make sure that we can challenge those parents and get them included in there so we don't lose those children?
Excellent question. Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Leader, and through you. Thank you, Councillor Jamil. So I've been visiting a range of schools across the city with the education officers recently, and with my own personal experience, I know that ensuring that communication or good communication between health professionals, between school support staff and the schools is really key. Something that I've spoken to officers about is about developing a range of community events where we kind of debunk and destigmatise and allow parents and carers to ask the difficult questions, but that the information is available in a way that they can understand. So maybe in their own language, it may be added pictures, it may be whatever way is best for them. But I want to try and debunk and demystify SEND for communities that may struggle to ask questions. But that's my plan.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. I think it's vital that we understand what lies behind that, a term that we're all using and not really perhaps understanding. Are you happy with the response, Councillor Jamil?
Yes, Leader.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kayam.
Thank you, Leader. I'd just like to highlight some of the challenges that are in the report about domestic abuse incidents, and seen that in the last 6 months they have been on the rise. I'd like to ask the question around how we will, moving forward, intend on addressing efficiency of service around domestic abuse incidents, and obviously factoring in, again, diversity of the city, where many women might just be hidden victims and not be apparent. Thank you.
Councillor Jones, would you like to pick that up for me, please?
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Councillor Cam. Yes, what we've actually been undertaking is the decoupling of the arrangement. So the facilities that we have are now going to be dedicated absolutely for Peterborough, which means that we have the service sitting behind there. We can now review it to make sure that we do give that wraparound service. We can actually make sure that we react quicker to what it's now in our hands in shaping it and taking it forward so that it will cover all the areas in Peterborough. Like you said, we're very diverse sort of like city, and again we have to respect that, diverse, in terms of domestic violence, it also affects men and women, and so we have to be very mindful of that. And so the service that we're providing will be able to meet the individual at what their need is, either visit them, go out to them, talk to them, signpost them, really to give them that wraparound support that they need on their individual journey. So I can only see what we're moving forward will be actually a positive thing for Peterborough. And unless Adrian Chapman wishes to add anything to that. Thank you.
Adrian, please.
Thank you, Leader. Just a couple of points to add. Our last Cabinet meeting, members will recall that we agreed the re-procurement of a new domestic abuse service, including some new outreach provision, which I think is really important in terms of reaching people that might otherwise not be able to easily access the support that's out there. And just to comment on the numbers, nobody wants to see an increase in incidents reported to the police. Indeed, we want to see domestic abuse eradicated. But actually, an increase in people accessing support isn't necessarily a bad thing. We know that there are a number of victims out there that never access support and often repeat victims that are victims a number of times before they reach out for support. So a relatively proportionate increase in people accessing support is actually quite a good thing. Clearly not incidents. We don't want to see those increasing, but I'm encouraged that people are getting to the support that they need, and hopefully more of that will come with that reprocured service.
Thank you, Adrian. Engagement is absolutely key. Councillor Kim, are you happy?
Yes, thank you. I'd just like to make the point that actually you're absolutely right, Adrian and Councillor Jones, that in the last Cabinet meeting we spoke about this service in detail, and points about having debate around something that's so important is for the public that are watching to be aware that we do take this seriously and that it's more localised, that creates that awareness. So I think it's great that we've sort of highlighted it in this meeting as well. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cam. Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Leader, and through you. I just wanted to talk about the challenges of fly tipping. It's a blight across our city. You know, there's lots of posts on social media. So I just wanted to ask, what is it we are doing to tackle the issue of fly tipping? And there's also a second question within that. So recently it was announced that there's going to be permits for the household recycling centre. So how many have been taken up to date, and what support is the council giving to those who may struggle to sign up online?
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Councillor Ellis would like to pick that up.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Yes, at the last meeting of the scrutiny meeting for the climate change and environment, they set up a new fly tipping task and finish group, which I had proposed at the December council meeting. Really pleased they've set this up so that they can look at different ways, get information from other authorities, other organisations as of best practice, because fly tipping is a scourge on all our streets and does really need to be looked into. I'm really pleased also about, there's a number of councillors who are doing bulky waste collections, which can sometimes help reduce that. For example, a special mention, because as you asked the question, Councillor Cole, and the other Doxthorpe councillors, this weekend just gone, you had a very successful bulky waste collection in Doxthorpe. And I do urge, if possible, other councillors to do the same when possible, when money permits. On the issue of the household recycling centre, during the budget process for this year's budget, all councillors agreed to this change. And basically, it's just a minor change. It's enhancing what's already there for the vans. And so basically, by the 24th of February, every car user who wants to use the recycling centre, who is a Peterborough resident, needs to sign up. It's easy to sign up on the website, and then you just need to take proof of your address on your first visit to the recycling centre. And so far, over 7,000 people have done that. So I'm really pleased about that. And I'm also aware, again, perhaps picking up Doxthorpe councillors, but I would like to get involved, and this is something else other councillors can do. They're proposing a drop-in where you will be going to a community centre with your laptops to help people sign up online. Also, if you're not online, you can sign up on the phone number 747474. So just a little plug for that. And thank you for all the hard work with the officers, getting it all in place. And even if you just turn up, there will be members of staff with their handheld devices, which is something which we've been waiting to be introduced, so they can do it when you're there. But please ask your local councillor if you do have any questions. And there's going to be a question and answer session for all city councillors on the 12th of February. Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Councillor Ellis, thank you very much indeed. Councillor Kayum, did you want to come in there?
It was about something else, not about the fly tipping, but yeah, no, it wasn't about the fly tipping. It was something completely different. Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you, Leader. I was really intrigued to read in the report about something really positive, I think, was about the private rental sector link worker who's been employed to help homeless households access private rentals. We know that the majority of our casework is obviously about fly tipping, but also about people who want to get, who are applying for social housing. How is that going? I think that's something that I'd really like to hear about. And also, I'd like to thank Cabinet Member Jones for helping and assisting out of hours with a couple of rough sleeper cases. And I thought that that was a really efficient service. Would you be able to highlight how the rough sleeper count went and sort of what proposals we have for the future to help those rough sleepers, or if there are any changes? It's a bit of a two-pronged question, but...
Thank you.
Yes, it was cold. Right, Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Leader. I will start and then I'll hand over to Adrian. Yes, you're right. The count is, it's really a census that we have to take once a year. And we undertook ours in November. And yes, as Matt, Dennis and I know, it was a very cold night. And what is actually amazing that we do in the city, our outreach team go out every night to known places where there are rough sleepers, checking on them, seeing what support that we need for them and what we can offer them in terms of that. So on this particular night, though, you have to do it from a legalistic point of view with everybody and check where they are. So it was really interesting to go out with them and just to see at first hand the work that they do and how we actually help them as well. So that was very interesting. I'm not sure whether we're allowed to declare the results yet because there is a deadline and time, so I will keep that one for a future time. But I'll hand over to Adrian to add anything else you'd like to add, Adrian. Thank you.
Thanks, Leader. Thanks, Councillor Jones. So just on the private rental sector link worker, which is quite a mouthful, has actually proved to be a real success, so much so that we are, at a more general point, actually, we are going through quite a significant change in the way that our homelessness and housing needs service operates, and have made sure we've baked into the new service a really enhanced model around the private rental sector. The reason it's important is because we're able to discharge our homelessness duties into the private rental sector. But to do that, we want to make sure that homeless households are able to move into a forever home in that sector, and the home is up to standard, that they've got a good landlord or a good agent, that they've got all the requirements that they might need as a tenant, a rent book, and gas safety checks and all of those sorts of things. So really important post. It's really working because it's also helping to cement and strengthen relationships with landlords and agents. We need that supply to keep coming through, and that will only come about if we have a trusted relationship. The service overall is doing really well despite the pressures that we report, and certainly by comparison to other councils. And you'll note the bullet above that, which shows a 26% reduction in the need to use bed and breakfast accommodation. We want zero bed and breakfast use, of course, but a 26% reduction is a really good start, and it's holding and further reducing. So all in all, an exciting future, I think, for the housing service.
Brilliant. Thanks, Adrian. Councillor Kemi.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to congratulate you both, actually, on managing the team very well and being available out of hours. I think that the shout-out is very well deserved, so thank you.
And if anybody wants to come on the count next year, wear waterproof shoes, because he didn't. Councillor Jamil.
Thank you, Leader. Just coming back to fly tipping again, I know in May we received a grant of £50,000 from DEFRA for some cameras, and then there was some waste disposal education. What are the early indications on that project? And I know so that some of the stuff is still being analysed, but we must have some data in. Is it working? Is it preventing? When people know that there's cameras there? And going forward, long term, are those cameras going to stay there, or is it just linked to the short-termness that, and then we're having to move them around?
Thank you, Jamil. Do you want to come in on that? Adrian, you happy? Yeah.
Thank you. Happy to. Yeah. Quite an operational question, so I'm happy to pick that up. We've received quite a lot of funding actually from various sources for tackling fly tipping. And the DEFRA grant was one example that you're referring to, which we used to purchase 4 fly tipping cameras. These are redeployable cameras, so what we do is base the deployment of those cameras on evidence. and the funding bid was based on targeting 2 of those cameras for urban areas and 2 for rural areas. It's sometimes, you know, need to remind ourselves that rural fly tipping is a real blight for landowners in rural communities. It's not just the urban areas. So we really wanted to focus on some rural targeted work. And those 4 cameras are added to a suite of existing cameras, some of which are fixed, some of which are covert, and some of which are overt. So a real array now of tools available to us to try to catch the perpetrators. Overall, I think it's going really well. I think we still struggle a little bit with the level of judicial response if we take cases to court, and that's something that we are determined to try and change by working with the judicial system. But all in all, we know our detections are increasing. We are in the budget proposals recommending an increase in the maximum fine we charge, and I think I defy anybody to disagree with charging the maximum amount for people that are perpetrating fly tipping, which is a blight for everyone. So it feels like we're getting a real grip on this, and I think as the addition, as Councillor Ellis mentioned, of the Task and Finish group will mean we can just add real value to this array of tools that we have available to us currently.
Thank you, Adrian.
Can I just follow up on that? I understand the judicial review, the response is not very good in terms of the fine. And I was wondering as a council if we can possibly do more to let people know that they will be fined and we will prosecute, because I think there are still people out there who think they can just dump stuff and the council will come and take it away. But I think there needs to be a bit more focus on education. And I was wondering if within these budgets, it's a possibility that we can maybe do leaflets or newspaper or even go on social media. I know that there are people who know, but I just think that we don't do enough.
I certainly think we could do more on the educative process, but do you just want to come in on something fact-based?
Yeah, so some of the other funding we've received allows for that education piece, and let's not forget we have our own in-house education team who are doing some great work on increasing recycling. In fact, we've got some fantastic early results from food recycling, for example. I know it's a different issue, but it just shows the impact of an education team. So in January, we saw 479 tonnes of food waste being recycled, which is the highest for the past 6 years. And a lot of that will have come from the work that the recycling education team do. So they're in the space of working with schools and communities, particularly communities that are blighted by fly tipping. I think the other thing we shouldn't be afraid to do is to make sure that when we do get a successful court case that we maximise the publicity from that, because it's a real deterrent. I think if people, as you say, know that they are likely to get caught in Peterborough, and the penalty is, one of the penalties is having your reputation shared with the population.
Okay. Yeah, and I'd like to express my thanks to the education team. When we did our bulky waste collection on last Saturday, then we had people out from the education team with us actually banging on doors. So, you know, that is critical. Can I just raise one point, please, with you, Adrian, on the station quarter, please, to see how we're doing in terms of progress there. Do you want to pick it up, Nick?
I'll kick it off. The station quarter project is on time, on budget, and is becoming a real catalyst for the city centre, for growth across the city centre, an opportunity. But yeah, on time, on budget, but probably more than anything else, it's across the board. We're actually now, after many years, things stuck and not moving, things are now moving. Things are making progress from out the front there to the bridge to Lincoln Road. It's all beginning to actually move. But the station quarter's on time, on budget.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to add anything to that, Adrian, please?
Any excuse, really, to talk about this sort of work, because it is fantastic, as Councillor Thorburn has said, real positive progress made. It's an incredible partnership with the Combined Authority, who helped secure the funding from government in the first place, but also with industry, so LNER and Network Rail. It's a unique collaboration. We are submitting the full business case around mid-March, 17th of March is our target date. We expect then the full business case to be reviewed quite quickly, and you will start to see shovels in the ground pretty soon after, late spring, early summer, particularly for the first of the 6 packages of work that will be delivered, which is the start of the new station square, but also the what's called City Link, which is connecting what will be the new station to Cowgate, and a really pleasant experience to travel from the station into the city, whereas currently you're met with multi-storey car parks. It will really open up a more of a green route and make the most of Cowgate, which we know is a fantastic street with huge potential. As Councillor Thorburn says, I think we'll see this as the trigger for much bigger change. We know that this particular station quarter scheme is only phase 1 of 2 or 3 phases, which will be, many tens of millions of pounds in the future, and including lots of new residential, lots of new commercial, lots of new retail, and lots of new leisure provision. So super exciting time for this particular scheme.
Absolutely, cranes in the sky, wonderful. I'm going to bring in Councillor Jamil, then Councillor Cole. Councillor Jamil.
As ward councillor for the station area, I wholeheartedly welcome, but I am also, you use the word catalyst and you use the word pleasant experience. The last thing we want is to walk out of a station and look at Westgate and see nothing there. So I'm hoping that the magic word being catalyst, because we've been waiting a long time in that area for North Westgate, and I'm hoping that this will be the project that kicks that off as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's fairly self-explanatory. Councillor Cole, please.
Thank you, Leader. I just wanted to ask about a key achievement that's been highlighted within the health and wellbeing section. It says that we're working with partners to tackle cuckooing, and that we were recently asked to speak at a national event. I'm really proud that Peterborough is being asked to present to other areas what it is we're doing, but is either the Cabinet member or the officer able to just enlighten a little bit more about what support it is we are giving to those victims of cuckooing, and how important it is that people who feel that they are or see that they are being cuckooed reach out to the correct services?
I'm getting smiles and nods of approval. Do you want to start that, Councillor Cahill, and then Mike, if you want to chip in?
So, cuckooing, as we see it, is very much addressed through a multidisciplinary approach, not just via safeguarding and also from a health and well-being point of view, but also from...
Sorry, just in case anybody doesn't know, will somebody just briefly explain what cuckooing is? We throw these terms about, but for the uninitiated, it's not your, I do understand that it's for the uninitiated.
In simple language, it basically entails sort of a vulnerable individual who is being used for purposes of drug trafficking and also dealing on various levels, and often the house of where that individual is inhabiting is used as a focus point to propagate such practices such as drug dealing and drug trafficking. So these people are identified as vulnerable individuals, and it takes an awful lot of work with multidisciplinary agency teams to try and address. Often it's part of a very vast network. Some of these networks are beyond the city and are very difficult to break down, but obviously safeguarding of the individual concerned is key. A lot of them come with vulnerabilities, some of them with learning difficulties, but I'd like to bring in the Director of Public Health to add anything of information, if...
That's great, thank you. Mike, please, if you will.
So, as Councillor Kime has said, it's very much a multidisciplinary team involving at the heart of which is the relationship between the police and our substance misuse support service, Aspire. I think one of the reasons that Peterborough has been put on the map is it's not only when the classic is when a rough sleeper is found a tenancy, and they're vulnerable. Often their mates will say, "Well, come on, let me come round, let me stay." So that's a multidisciplinary team meeting is held within the first 48 hours. The other reason that I think it's much acclaimed is because there's a preventative element, working with the prison service so that when a vulnerable prisoner is going to be released, actually they can get to know the cuckooing coordinator, and they can have some support around, how to say no to your friends when they ask you to do something when you don't want to do. And I've got a presentation which I can share with you if you'd like more information.
Are you okay with that? Yeah. And having known of victims in my ward, victims of cuckooing over the last few years, then I'm absolutely delighted that we're making great strides in that area. It's a dreadful, dreadful thing to actually have to deal with as a councillor. Councillor Thorburn.
It's a question for adults, actually. I'd like to know how Bridget's getting on, how they're performing. But I'm particularly interested, I just find it quite exciting about the process. But how's Bridget?
So we can't shout enough about Bridget, which is actually spelled Bridgit for anybody that really wants to. So BRIDGIT. And it's a one-stop shop for carers. Obviously, I think that it's really important here to highlight that everybody in this room and everybody's watching will probably know of a carer or probably might become a carer in their own lifetime. I've come across people who have suffered from carer exhaustion, from an emotional level, personal level, and part of our carers survey highlighted the need for us to engage with our carers more, and Bridget was born. Now, Bridget offers the option for people who are carers to have their own care plans, to have information about emotional health and well-being, to be able to access advice around finances and other resources as well. And also, Bridget is particularly great for signposting those carers to other avenues of help and support too. And just before I hand, I would like to congratulate Steve and the team for working ever so hard in this area, because it's involved stakeholders, it's involved voluntary sectors and carers themselves to give us ideas on how they would like to see Bridget develop. And in fact, my mentor came over last week and took the idea of Bridget back to Manchester. That's how good we are. So it's going very well in terms of the outcomes and uptake and feedback. I'm going to hand it over to Steve, but for anybody that's interested, it's on Peterborough City Council's website. You just have to type in Bridgit, and there is a QR code. I'd advise if you are a carer or know of anybody, please spread the good news. Over to Steve.
Thank you, Councillor Cumb. Steve.
No, it is going very well, and we're getting really good take-up. So we've got more primary care networks, which a group of GP surgeries are now signing up to use it. And we're starting to work with a lot of voluntary organisations, people like Family Voice. We're piloting with them now so that they can start to use it. So it's starting to take on a bit of a life of its own, really, which is really positive. And I think to give it a bit more context, I think one of the areas we knew that we weren't doing particularly well was in services and the service that we provide for informal carers and for family members who are caring. So we developed with family carers a joint strategy. And this is part of what we're developing to try and improve that, a kind of range of measures. And, we feel we're massively improving that because it's a group of people who, we're so reliant on in terms of the care they provide. So we're really trying to improve our offer of that. And this is a key part of it because I think getting to information, linking people to the information about the services out there has always been quite a big issue. And this is quite a good way of achieving that.
Thanks, Steve. You okay?
Just a quick comment, really. I'm just impressed that we're using technology. We're not running away from it. We're running towards it, which I think is a huge step forward. It's a bridge. Bridget is.
Is it really Bridgit?
It is Bridgit, because I'd spelt it wrong so many times, so I had to actually go in and have a look. But yeah, it is Bridget, but Bridgit.
Bridgit. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Jamil.
Thank you, Chair. Education on this one. And under the challenges, we've got elective home education. Now, the circumstances surrounding the shocking death of Sarah Sharif and the rising number of people who have been educated. So what have we done to prepare ourselves as an authority to make sure we do not lose any child in those type of circumstances?
It's an excellent and apposite question. Councillor Cole, would you like to take that, or you, John?
Yes, thanks. It's going to be a bit of a double act answer, and I'm going to start. Thank you, Leader. So, as you highlighted, Councillor Jamil, you know, the numbers of parents and carers requesting elective home education is continuing to increase. The officers have developed a new website, and it is something that since taking the post of Cabinet Member, I have raised with the Director for Children's Services and the education team. Parents know their children best, and it is right that they have a say in the education of their child, including if they feel that home education is the best thing for them. However, it's vital that home education is suitable for the child and the child is actually being educated. And I'm really proud that in the recent child wellbeing bill that was published a few weeks ago, that it states that no child should fall through the crack. And when we talk about that, we're talking about safeguarding. It's ensuring that all children are safe. It's not saying to parents that they shouldn't do what's best for their child, but it's about ensuring that every child is known where they are, where they're being educated, and if there are problems, then services can support where needed. But I'm really proud that this is something that the Labour government are doing.
I couldn't agree more. John, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, thank you. Difficult act to follow, as always. Just to say that since the 2023 Ofsted inspection, when elective home education was identified for an area improvement, we've obviously invested as a council significantly, not only in children's services, but also in that area. Obviously, we respect the rights of individual parents, how they choose to educate their own children. But just to acknowledge, as Councillor Cole has outlined, the Children Wellbeing and Schools Bill will strengthen the arrangements for elective home education with the proposals to develop a register for those children who are elected at home, and also to change the law to ensure that those children are subject to a child protection plan or are currently under child protection investigation, Section 47, inquiries, for example, are not able to be electively home educated because of the concerns that we have in some circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you, John. You happy? Excellent. Any other questions? That was a heck of a debate and some excellent questions asked. And again, one of the things just to add to that is only this morning Angus and I met with a fly tipping collector activist in Mark Fishbowl, well known across the city, and we're looking at ways to build a social infrastructure that we can actually support people. We've had a wide range of what we're doing for rough sleepers, the station quarter, and it really does feel that we're on the move, and it's a healthy debate. Has anybody got anything they'd like to add before we move on, please? Okay, in which case, Cabinet is recommended to note and comment on the corporate performance report, which we've done to a great degree. We all happy to do that? Thank you very much. Item 7, and it's back to me to introduce this, the updated corporate strategy. And what I'd like to say is presented to you today for approval is an updated version of the Council's corporate strategy. It's a really important document as it sets out what we are prioritising to deliver for our residents and our city in the coming years, and put simply, where we will and need to invest our time and money. Last autumn, we asked residents to give their views on the priorities for the next 4 years as part of our Shaping Our City consultation. This saw us engage with people in a number of different ways, face-to-face, online, and using social media. And I'd like to thank everyone once again who took the time to get involved. The version before you today incorporates what residents told us, including the need for a greater focus on improving our city centre, recognises the value of leisure and culture in the city, and including reference to support for young people with learning disabilities as they transition into adulthood and beyond. Our core priorities for the next 3 years are the economy and inclusive growth. This includes increasing the wealth of residents through better paid jobs, delivering major growth and new homes with net zero ambitions underpinning everything that we do. Prevention, independence and resilience. We will support residents to be healthy and independent, focusing on everything from debt management to housing crisis and support for young people entering adulthood to caring for the elderly. Sustainable Future City Council. This includes a strong focus on financial sustainability, investing in our staff so that we have the best people and in the right skills, and a focus on improving our use of digital, data and analytics. Children and young people, we will provide the best support possible for vulnerable children and young people, including keeping them safe and providing school, including for those who need special educational requirements. Will ensure that every child in our care receives the same opportunities that we would all strive to achieve for our own children. As we said when we launched the consultation, we are honest about the fact that we can no longer continue to be all things to all people, and we must cut our cloth accordingly to continue to stay afloat financially. This updated strategy, which I recommend you approve, sets out where we will prioritise our efforts to create a city of opportunity for all. Members, do we have any questions? Councillor Jones.
Mine actually isn't a question as such, it's more of a comment. And I think, I wasn't being a true Peter Boyne, it's often easy to talk the city down. But I think this is an occasion where, we revise the corporate strategies, we look at what we need to do for today. And again, it's some positive, brilliant, plans in there that we've got. Yes, we have the challenges, they're always going to be there and we can't diminish those. But it's been great to involve everybody in their comments and also to say, what the aspirations that we have, it is positive moving forward. And I would encourage everybody to go online and read it and see what actually is going to happen to our city. And that includes all of us. So it's really exciting times ahead, I think.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Leader. And again, this is more of a comment rather than a question. So in terms of the children's and young people corporate strategy, as I said, I've been out to schools and I'm actually seeing some of these elements in terms of diversity, equality, inclusion. The officers that are visiting schools, they are putting this message across to school staff, but most importantly, ensuring that the voices of the fact that we want every child to go to a good school, we want every child to have the best possible start in life, working with those academies and the DFE to increase support for SEND. So in terms of these priorities within my own portfolio, I know that it's something that I've spoken with John about. I think they're fantastic and I'm really looking forward to seeing the fruits of these. And I also just wanted to say, in terms of the speaking to residents earlier in the year, thank you for the officers who gave up their time, and Matt's session provided balloons, Adrian's session didn't.
Oh! Moving swiftly on, Councillor Thorburn.
Come to my rescue.
Not a chance in hell, I'm afraid. I've seen a number of these over the years, and we have lots of word and spaces. What I quite like about this is I can actually start seeing a link to the real world. There's actually something happening. So my question is, are we going to look at this document and actually report on every activity that happens in this council against this document? Are we actually going to score, if you like, and show that we're actually delivering, and this is the document that's going to do it? In other words, is this going to manage the process, if you like, at a high level, rather than just words and spaces? I can see things happening. I just want to confirm that we're going to actually manage that via the corporate strategy.
Perfectly fair question. I'll bring in Matt, our Chief Executive, to respond, please.
I think it's a very pertinent point. This document provides the real focus for the whole council. It sets out the political ambition. It's actually pretty clear, and thanks to Amanda and the team, it's pretty plain English. It sets out tangible things that you want to deliver over the next 3 years. It will guide where we place our money, our investment, time and effort. You've just had a really good discussion around performance and achievements. They are all structured around these 4 priorities. And we have tweaked and reflected it. We did this 3 years ago. We've actually raised the prominence around children and young people in the document. We've strengthened the work around, not just around adults and health, but a lot around the digital, but also around things like child poverty, what we can do differently to tackle that. It sets out very clear what the economic focus is. So actually, any member of staff would think, what's my role in contributing to this? So how it sets out our service delivery plans, how it sets our appraisal systems, the values-based work that we do, and it has been cross-party designed as well. So I think it's a fundamental document. I've seen lots of these over the years, and some of them be 100 pages long. This isn't. This is a succinct view, tied in with what the combined authority are doing in terms of what government are doing. These are the key areas. It's not everything that we do, but it sets out these are the most important things that we're trying to achieve across this city. And it's a really exciting proposition. And we now need to get behind it, deliver it. And then if we make mistakes and things are not on track, we need to problem solve and look at what we can do to get it back on track.
Thank you, Matt. You happy with the response, or do you want to come back?
I couldn't agree more. I actually really like the document. I'm actually looking at everything I do within the council and in the ward through the prism of this document now. You've not even fully published it, but it is driving the way I look at things, what the window I look through, if you like. So I'm a big supporter.
Thank you. It's interesting for me, the first 3 people who've spoken are actually born and bred Peterboreans. So the fact that, you know, they are supportive of this document. I've only been here 25 years, so, you know, like I say, what do I know? But I'm going to bring somebody who's probably been here as long, if not as long as me, Councillor Cahill.
Thanks for that, Leader. I just wanted to say that I wanted to highlight in this document as well something that may, and I think Steve will agree with me, about scaremongering. As soon as people see, and in line with what Councillor Thorburn said about digital and the fact that we are very fearful of going into the technological era, that we don't talk enough about prevention when it comes to health. We always know how to deal with a crisis and have strategies in place. For the first time, this document actually highlights the fact that we use digital technology to prevent people from becoming unwell. And we've got fantastic examples of that and how we're going to manage efficiencies in the workforce. We've got examples of Hey Geraldine, which is, again, a platform by which our workforce has now started to use an AI digital-based service to ask where they can get help from for a resident in our communities. So that's just an example of prevention. So in terms of my portfolio, I just want to get the message out there to the public that are watching that when we talk about digital, it's not that we're taking care away from individuals. We are trying to streamline and make the process efficient so that people don't become unwell, that then enables them to have care and depend upon others. So it's about living well for longer, and that's what this document highlights. I don't know if Steve wants to bring anything in.
No, I think the line I always use, that you'll have heard many times, is the one that is that nobody really wants adult social care if they don't need it. And my job is to keep people out of adult social care, and it's to give us a tool to keep people independent and to keep people away from my services for as long as possible and independent, living independent lives.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think context and benchmarking, asking before living the document, you know, how do we stack up, not only as an authority, how we're doing against our own criteria, but when you look across the country, and as you say, we're reverse engineering stuff up to Manchester, and that's music to my ears, being a Mancunian of birth. Anybody, any questions or further debate? No? Okay, in which case, if there are no other questions, review and recommend approval of the corporate plan 2025 to 2028 to full council. Are we agreed? I think we are. Thank you. Item 8, thank you for that, pages 57 to 298. Holy God. Yeah, my thoughts exactly. Item 8 presents the budget 25-26 and the medium-term financial strategy 25 to 28. Following the local government funding settlement, a supplementary agenda pack was published and sent to members. Councillor Jamil, in your capacity as Cabinet Member for Finance and Corporate Governance, please take us through this report.
Thank you, Leader. I'd like to say that this document is as sexy as the last one, but unfortunately, we are where we are. It feels like we are now in the final leg of our journey for this year, which enables me to present to you the final proposed budget for 25-26 and the medium-term financial strategy. As expressed at the meeting of the Joint Scrutiny Committee, I want to share my appreciation and thanks to the officers and the corporate leadership team who have worked incredibly hard over the past difficult year to develop the proposal to get us to where we are today. I'd also like to extend this to members from all parties. I really valued the constructive debate that took place at the Joint Scrutiny meeting. I think we'll all agree that this has been one of the most challenging years yet. And when we consulted on the budget, there were some difficult proposals on the table, which is telling by the fact that there were over 1,400 responses. I would like to thank all residents, partners and groups who took time to read the proposals and provide valued feedback. We have summarised the feedback and it's included as a response within the report. Further, I'd like to put on record that we are not proposing to close libraries or the museum at this stage, but we are consulting. This is the start of the consultation process. So voting for the budget does not mean voting for library closures. As you know, nationally, local government finances remain under immense strain, with the pressures driven by sustained higher rates of interest, increased demand for services such as children's housing, adults, home-to-school transport, and SEN school places. In 2025-26, we've included an additional £9.5 million in the budget to reflect this additional need. A key area of focus for the budget has been looking at how we deliver savings and transform service delivery by implementing prevention and early intervention strategies, generating income, and making the best use of our assets and resources and maximising the use of digital and AI. The report sets out £200 million worth of investment over the next 3 years in our capital programme. This includes key schemes such as the Station Quarter, which we discussed earlier, investment in our schools, our properties, digital solutions, housing, and a children's residential home, which has been long, we've been without those for a long time. The final local government settlement was announced at the beginning of last week. This confirmed our grant allocations, including the new Children's Prevention Grant and a targeted deprivation fund, of which the Council will receive £6 million. This provides us with a glimmer of hope for the future, and I remain positive that future funding reforms will see funding more appropriately distributed. Although the funding picture is much better than we expected, we are still proposing a 4.99% increase in council tax, in line with the government's expectations. For most households in Peterborough, this means an extra £1.24 per week. This isn't a decision we've taken lightly, but is key to setting a balanced budget and meeting the needs of our city. We recognised proposing a balanced budget is testament to everyone's hard work this year, but I must draw your attention to the robustness statement, which starts on page 85 of our pack. This is statutory statement by our Chief Finance Officer and makes clear that the budget contains a moderate to high risk, a degree of risk, and our reserve levels are not sufficient to manage the risks ahead. As I set out earlier, it remains imperative that we continue to close the £5.4 million overspend in the final quarter of this financial year, which will improve our reserves position. During 25-26, it is also essential that all savings are delivered on time and in full. And in addition to other pressures and risks being fully mitigated, by delivering these expectations, we will improve the Council's financial resilience and put ourselves on a more sustainable financial footing for the future year. With that brief introduction, I would be grateful for your agreement to recommend this to full Council on the 19th of February. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jamil. I know that our city, along with many, many others, are facing significant challenges, but what I'm comforted by is the fact that we do appear to be on the move in many, many areas. I'd just like to, give assurance around the plans that we have in place, for our budget control. Anybody, any questions or items that they'd like to raise now over this, because this is such a significant part of what we're about. Cecilia, would you like to come in, please?
Thank you, Leader. I just wanted to raise a minor point, really, in the Section 25 statement, the robustness statement. I have made a small amendment to the report that's going to Council next month, and included in the risk section on page 86, I have added an item on the Hilton Hotel, where we lost the buyer just before Christmas, and the Council needs to step in. So there's a small amendment there that will come into the Council report.
Thank you, Cecilia. The point is duly noted. Before we come to recommendations, is there anybody else who would like anything to add?
Can I just add also what we welcome would be a 3-year settlement from now on, because it would then allow us to plan better, whereas at the moment, the last few years have just been firefighting, whereas if we know what's coming down the line, as a local authority, will we be able to plan better, and I think that would be good for us as a council and our residents.
I couldn't agree more, Councillor Jamil. Any other comments or suggestions? Okay, Cabinet is recommended that reviews and recommends to Council for approval the proposed revenue and capital budgets for 25-26, a proposed council tax increase of 4.99% in 25-26, 26-27 and 27-28, the robustness, slightly amended robustness statement as per Section 25 of the Local Government Act, and the medium-term financial strategy 25-26 to 27-28 and accompanying strategies set out in the appendices A to N. Members, are we agreed with the to propose those recommendations? Thank you. Item 9, pages 299 to 308 in your agenda. Item 9 is a report regarding variation to the integrated drug and alcohol treatment contract and the future recommissioning of the service. Councillor Kayam, in your capacity as Cabinet Member for Adults and Health, will you please introduce this report?
Thank you, Leader. I'd be delighted to introduce this report. So the current CGL Aspire Drug and Alcohol integrated contract ends on the 31st of March 2025, and around 50% of the annual value of the contract is from additional grants received from central and local government. And at the time of extending this contract in January 2023, there was no clarity on funding for these grants in the final year of the contract 25 to 26. Central government has now indicated that it intends to continue funding for these grants, which is still subject to final confirmation from the Treasury. and this paper asks Cabinet to support award of these grants once Treasury approval has been made. And the Cabinet is also asked to support the recommissioning of a new drug and alcohol treatment contract in time for a new contract to start on the 1st of April 2026. So quite a variation of contracts, but that's basically the gist of it all. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Councillor Kemp. Any questions of clarification or points that anybody wishes to raise? I think it's reasonably straightforward. Nothing's ever simple, but straightforward. No? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so Cabinet, just to reiterate, is A, to approve acceptance of the indicative funding of £2.5 million or £2,523,442 additional central government and local funding, which is ring-fenced to deliver drug and alcohol treatment services outcomes. B, to approve a corresponding variation to the Council's contract with Change Grow Live Limited. And C, to procure a new drug and alcohol treatment service to commence on the 1st of April 2026 for a period of 5 + 1 + 1 + 1 years, with an estimated total value of up to £14.82 million, excluding future grant funding from central government and local sources, which is not yet confirmed beyond 2025-26. Members, are we agreed to these recommendations? Thank you. Item 10. Lincoln Road Regeneration Project, pages 309 to 314 in your agenda. It's a report regarding the Lincoln Road Regeneration Project. Councillor Ellis, in your capacity as Cabinet Member for Environment and Transport, will you be kind enough to take us through the report, please?
Thank you, Leader. Yes, as part of our Towns Fund programme, and following a period of public and business engagement, a range of highways and public realm improvements are planned for part of Lincoln Road in Millfield. The designs are now complete and we are approaching the construction phase of the scheme. This report is seeking approval to award the construction works to Milestone Infrastructure Services Limited via the existing Peterborough Highways Services Team service contract to benefit from time and budget efficiencies, in addition to working with contractors with a proven track record in our city. Positive announcements and updates on the remainder of the Towns Fund programme will be made in the coming weeks.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis. Do we have any questions of clarification? Councillor Jamil, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just be having the portfolio for finance. I'm looking at the figures, and we're looking at £3.5 million on some, and then we're looking all the way up to over 4 million. Can we sort of get a greater idea of where this money is going to come from, you know, with balance of what we're saying and what it could cost? Are we sure that we're going to be able to complete this project?
Councillor Ellis.
Thank you, Councillor Jamil. First of all, I will hand over the final bit of the question to Adrian Chapman, but first of all, it's been long overdue, this work in the area of Lincoln Road, to provide a safer and healthier area for local residents, businesses, commuters and shoppers in and around that area. And finally, like we were saying earlier on, we are getting it done, and the construction is due to happen this financial year. So this is yet another example of we being business to get things done. So on the issue about funding, I think I'll bring in Adrian Chapman, who's got the latest information.
Thank you, Adrian.
Thanks, Eda. Thanks, Councillor Ellis. Yes, I'm really pleased to say that since this report was published, the Towns Fund Board has met and has approved a further grant. I'll just repeat that for the avoidance of doubt for anybody watching. So since this report was published, the Towns Fund Board have met and have approved a further grant allocation from the Towns Fund pot, which all but closes the funding shortfall that's set out in the financial paragraph in this report. which essentially guarantees delivery of the full project. As Councillor Ellis has mentioned, delivery starts in the spring. This project will be concluded before Christmas, so it's a very much an in-year, very live piece of work. Just to cover off where the funding in total has come from, the vast majority, nearly £3 million, has been made available through the Towns Fund programme. We've added a small amount from our UK Shared Prosperity Fund, and then a small amount from Section 106 and Community Infrastructure Levy funding. So it's a package of funding which combined will guarantee delivery, as I've said, over the summer period.
Thank you, Adrian and Councillor. Councillor Jamil, are you following?
Yeah, I just want to comment on, I was here when we had the, what was it called, Operation Can Do, and we were promised, we asked, I remember Councillor Nazim Khan, who was also ward councillor with me for Central, we asked for 15 million. We were then offered 7.5 million, and now we're settling with the 4 million, but I'm kind of hoping that this is also a catalyst to bring further money in as well. Now, it's not what we asked for, but it's a start, and I'm hoping that they can get the rest of Millfield done with further funding in the future.
And more to the point, is this being done? Yeah. Is that okay?
Yeah, just to completely echo Councillor Jamil's point, it is a point we made at the Towns Fund Board as well, and a bit like the comment we made earlier about the station quarter. These things need to be seen as catalysts for change, for more ambitious change. This will deliver, I think, quite a significant improvement to a small stretch of Lincoln Road, but I think it will then shine a light on the potential for the rest of Lincoln Road. Most of us know that Lincoln Road has vast potential. It's already a place you can go and enjoy, you know, some leisure time, amazing flavours, socialise and so on. And I think this will be the precursor to something much more exciting. Let's also not forget, and we haven't talked about this for a little while, that there is still a plan to relocate the bus depot from Lincoln Road. That's very much a live piece of work. We're working closely with the Combined Authority on that programme, and I think one would expect that to be the second phase of change for Lincoln Road, and hopefully, as you say, more to follow.
Thank you, Adrian. Are you content? Jamil? Yeah. Okay, Councillor Cole, please.
Thank you, Leader. I just wanted to ask about communication to residents, because as much as the area is an economic area, as you've stated, there are residential streets that lead onto that road. So what's the plan to communicate when shovels are going in the ground? How long is it going to take? Because I could see there being a significant traffic disruption, and whilst that is taking place.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a very busy stretch of road. I'm obviously pleased that our specialist highways contractor is delivering this scheme, so we're very familiar with traffic management in programmes such as this and have got a very clear plan in place. The Towns Fund programme itself also has its own communications plan and its own communications officer. And as already mentioned in Councillor Ellis's introduction, we've already conducted some very extensive public consultation on the scheme and have responded and adapted the scheme according to that feedback. So the door is kind of already open. We will be making sure that throughout the whole programme that residents and businesses are regularly updated. It's probably the businesses that are probably most impacted because it's the front of their businesses that will be transformed. So we want them to stay open. We want them to see the benefit of this change. We'll make sure that engagement continues as it has done over the last few months, and make sure that residents in all surrounding streets also get the benefit. Ultimately, this is an opportunity to really showcase Lincoln Road for what it is. So, you know, a few months of disruption that then creates a fantastic destination, I think is well worth it. As long as we get the communications right, I think it's a great opportunity to sell the area.
Okay, thank you. You okay? Councillor Jamil.
Yeah, just to add on from that, Katie talked about traffic disruption. I think this plan also will alleviate a lot of the traffic hold-ups, because we're looking to do a one-way system around Stone Lane and Oxford Road where all the bottlenecks are. So as part of this, and St Martin Street and Alma Road. So as part of this, I'm kind of hoping that all that will be cleared up as well. I just thought I'd emphasise that as well.
Okay, thank you. It's a reasonable point. I think it's also worth highlighting the fact that the relationship we have with Milestone, the contractor, is stable, successful and long-standing. So there's an awful lot of goodwill in there. So that's worth, I think, bringing out. Any other questions or matters arising from it? If not, Councillor Kayam.
Yeah, thank you. I was looking at the plans actually, and I think that, you know, people have brought up concerns around parking, but actually looking at the plans, it sets out very clearly that there will be the loss of only one parking space, if I'm to interpret this plan correctly. And actually there have been provision for parking spaces, but it looks very clean, and that particular corner that they're looking to develop will, I think, become very appealing and possibly, you know, generate a cafe culture, which is what we want, given the diversity of the area. And I think it's something to be very excited about.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis.
Just to come back on that, and yes, it was one of the major things because car parking and congestion. And also I understand there'll be some additional electric vehicle parking going in. So that's also the plus point as well.
Excellent. Okay. Any further questions or points? If not, I'm asking Cabinet please to award works to Milestone Infrastructure Services Limited, utilising Peterborough Highways Team term service contract for the delivery of the Lincoln Road Regeneration Project, and authorise the Executive Director, Place and Economy, to vary the scope of the works when required to cover other related highway works. Are we agreed? Thank you. Item 11, item last, pages 315 to 344. This is a report regarding a member agreement for Peterborough Limited and PCHLL, commonly known as PCHIL. The appendix to this item is exempt, and to discuss it, Cabinet will need to move to exclude the press and public from the meeting. I therefore propose to exclude the press and public from this meeting on the grounds that the appendix contains exempt information under Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972 as amended. Specifically, paragraph 3, information relating to the financial or business affairs of any particular person, including the authority holding that information. Members, are we in agreement? Thank you. We just need to make sure that we've cut the live feed, and anybody